Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today, well, actually yesterday, we're getting released a developer bulletin about update 11.2. This talks a little bit more about the Hot Wheels collaboration event, which was the subject of yesterday's video, and they released this article, I think, literally within an hour of me uploading yesterday's video to the channel, so that's always fun when that happens. So in this article, there's a lot of other information about some upcoming game modes, some mechanic changes, and of course, submarines. So we're going to go through and talk about the new information that we now know thanks to this bulletin. If you want to follow along as I go through this article, link to this article will be in the description down below. Alright, so let's go ahead and get on into it. So, subs. They say after a short break, submarines are again lurking in the depths of our seas for testing purposes. Read on for a glimpse of how to play and counter the revamped subs. In this new round of testing, we've gone above and beyond to address all the issues reported by you, from subs being hard to detect and interact with, to the unstable damage-dealing capabilities of submarines. We've made both playing and countering submarines more intuitive. We hope these changes will help us shape the final stages of the new ship's evolution. To make it easier for you to go through the new round of testing, we've reworked the way information is displayed by placing a stronger focus on the key aspects of playing a sub and countering one. Okay, so they make mention of some changes that we've already talked about. So, like, the sonar pings are now visible by everybody, so you can see the ping coming toward you, so you have a better idea of where that submarine is at. They again talk about the oil spill mechanic. If you don't know, this is going to occur now. When you hit a submarine, they are going to leak oil, and that oil will then rise to the surface, so you have a pretty darn good idea of where that submarine's at after it's been hit. Now, the oil spill, the only way to stop it on a submarine is to, one, let it run its course. It works pretty much like a fire or flooding. Or two, use your damage con to stop it. So that, in my mind, is a very intuitive, a very immersive change that addresses a major issue that was around submarines, which is, again, finding out where the heck these things were. Now, in addition to that, submarines will have flooding anytime you hit them. So if you hit them with a depth charge or just nick them with a depth charge, the submarine is going to flood now. But they can only have one instance of flooding, so they can't stack. But they've also limited the number of damage cons that the submarine has. It was just like the Soviet battleships now, to where they only have 3 damage cons. And that's it. And once they're gone, they're gone. So, yeah. But since they can only have one instance of flooding on them at a time, that means when you stack 12 players' airstrikes on a submarine at once, they're only going to flood once. So it can't get like 3 or 4 floodings on the submarine at the same time. So that kind of helps balance this out. Basically, the changes to the submarines were overall major nerf to the survivability of subs. But let's go on. So something that they clarify here is the 3 key positions for the submarine. They only have 3 positions now: the surface, periscope depth, and maximum depth. That is it. Now, they do say that they glide between the 3 key positions. And this is something that I still have an issue with. Maximum depth is the only depth that you have underwater. Well, I don't know if you want to count periscope depth underwater. You're still, I mean, your visibility is decreased and you can still be hit by the surface ships. But maximum depth is it. And when you get down to maximum depth, of course, your visibility is limited and you can't see anything at all. Also, at maximum depth, there's a fair few maps that their underwater world is shallower than maximum depth. I believe Ocean, the seafloor is at like 40-something meters, and the tier 10 subs go down to 60 meters. So if you want to go underwater on Ocean, you're just doomed to hit the floor. So what you're probably going to wind up doing is having to, slam your depth gauge down to maximum depth, then decrease it again to periscope depth, to where your submarine's basically just bouncing up and down underwater. I don't see why subs can't have an operational depth, to where it's just like midway between like 30 meters, to where you won't be grinding your submarine on the seafloor. So, yeah, that still doesn't make sense in my mind. but we'll see how it works. And they may take them a fairly long time to get down to maximum depth with this new system, although they don't say they've changed that time, but we'll see. Alright, Submarine can inflict damage to our foes in two ways. The safer option is to use homing torpedoes. The harder and riskier but more rewarding option is to stick to conventional torpedoes. And they went more in depth in this in the dev blog, but I have a video on that if you want to go check that out. That's the Submarines Are Coming Back video that I put out a little while ago. And again, they note that damage con is now limited. And they do include a couple of new images for us showing the some of the changes to submarines. And they included a couple more images of the submarines underwater with their depth. And again, it's so odd that you can only choose from 3 depths, but again, on these underwater images, we can see that 34 meters, which would be the perfect operational depth for the U-2501, is still there, but apparently you can't select it. And I would assume by the time they put this article on the game's website, they would clarify, is it 3 or is it 4 depths? So apparently just stuck with 3 depths, and that's it. So a little bit more information about the submarines there, and I'm assuming confirmation on that submarines only have 3 depths now. Alright, so the Italian DDs Part 1 is coming to the game in 11.2, so we finally get the Italian destroyers, and I can't wait to get my hands on them. They look absolutely insane. They look very much like knife-fighting anti-DD DDs, which looks like to be a bundle of fun. So can't wait to see those, and they don't really include any more information about the event that's going along with them. However, Savage Battles, we have a little bit more information about that. Savage Battles, sink 'em all. The Savage Battle is back. The power of a once great civilization is now history, and their glorious city is destroyed and flooded. It's your territory now. Fight and become one of the best. Battles will be fought between 4 teams, each with 3 ships. The small lineup will let players enjoy the battle either solo or in a division. The Savage Battle will start in the outskirts of a flooded city. At the beginning of the battle, your ship has no consumable charges. This is because the world is on the brink of collapse, and the only limited resource that remains out there will go to those who fight the hardest to earn them. Collect consumable charges from special zones, and remember, each time you destroy an enemy ship, you will also obtain a charge for a random consumable. Watch out, the other teams are on high alert and can get at you where you would least expect them. On top of your enemies, you also want to watch out for the wildfire that encircles the water. Ships that remain engulfed in the wildfire gradually lose HP. Basically, Battle Royale. We've had this event before. It was a lot of fun, and I'm glad to see it return. They do go into a little bit more detail between the 3 ships. So we've got the Octopus, which is a low detectability ship armed with powerful torpedoes that are capable of pulverizing anyone who dares stand in their way. The ships are also equipped with secondary batteries, but these are not the speciality of the Octopuses. The prototypes of these ships are Z-52, Shimakaze, and Daring. Alright, then we got the Moray Eel. Maneuverable steel monsters. Ships of this faction will ideally suit fans of aggressive close-quarters brawls. The major advantage is maneuverability combined with powerful propulsion. The devastating main guns are operated by artificial intelligence, but the ship's torpedoes are rather weak and slow. And these are, well, the ship is an amalgamation of the Yu-Yang, the Gearing, and the Kleber. And then the Barracuda, I believe this is the one where you can actually control the guns. Those that glide swiftly through the waves on the wings of scorched winds expect high speeds, the ability to directly control her main battery guns, and torpedoes that have mediocre characteristics. While designing these ships, the engineers kept an eye on Harugumo, Grazovoy, and Cabros. Very odd that you have a fast destroyer. You throw frickin' Harugumo in there. So the Barracuda, that's the one where you can actually directly control the main battery guns. The Moray Eel and the Octopus, that's the one where you're more or less torpedo based, and it's really odd that the Moray Eel, the torpedoes are slow and weak, but the AI still controls the main guns. So yeah, this mode's coming back, and they don't mention what the rewards are yet, at least in this article they don't. Here's the information we were missing yesterday about the Hot Wheels edition, well, collaboration. So again, a very odd collab, and we'll take a look at the camos now that we actually have them to look at. Okay, so they say, we've added the following items inspired by the Hot Wheels universe. Permanent camos, Bone Shaker for Ganiza now, Twin Mill for Fubuki, and Muscle Bound for Hill. Commander's Bad Advice cap and Racing Fishy patches and commemorative flags. Details of the collaboration will be announced later. So, for now, this seems to be the content we are getting with this collab. Now, I will say, the Knives and Owls camo, what they call it, Bone Shaker, I believe. Bone Shaker for Knives and Owls. I like this. I really like the way this looks. It's got the classic Hot Wheels flames. It looks like the turrets are textured in a type of cast metal that like the Hot Wheel cars are casted out of, and the paint looks clean on the whole. I wish it would give us some more angles of it, but you can look at the secondary guns too, and they seem to be made out of that same cast metal texture. I really like this camo, and this is one that I hopefully will be able to pick up if the prices aren't like incredibly stupid for a tier 7 perma camo. Fubuki, I mean, it definitely looks like a color combination that would go on a Hot Wheel car, and it's got those lines that some of the Hot Wheels vans have too, going up and down the side. Not a huge fan of this camo, but it looks alright. The Hills camo looks pretty neat, although it does look kind of Christmassy, but I do like the shark face at the front there. That is pretty neat. And again, the turrets on the Hill and the Fubuki also look like the cast metal. It looks like they've added in a little bit of what I was talking about yesterday about how the art team could potentially mimic that cast metal look. You get a bit closer look at the Hill's turrets, and looks like they've done a better job of that here. Or again, we can just get a closer look at them on the Hill. Alright, so there's the Unique Commanders, Cappy, and Racing Fishy. And look, they got the Hot Wheels tracks in the background. And the new patches, which look pretty good. And the flags as well. Alright, so they said they will release more information on that later. Probably how to get all those camos and commanders and such. I do wish there'd be a little bit more to get, like some higher tier camos. It's very strange that they are focusing on mid tier this time. Mostly these collaboration events are focused on at least tier 8 and above, but at least at tier 7 they can't make too ridiculous with the prices, but we will see. Alright, visual improvements. So again, they are yet again improving the graphics, and they say here the new update brings reworked effects for shooting main and secondary battery guns, depth charge hitting the water and islands, local weather effects on the hotspot, North, Greece, and Islands of Ice maps, aircraft explosion on the deck when aircraft carriers are destroyed, and obtaining a super container and rain. So they include a couple more still images here. We have videos from the previous dev blog. You can go check that video out. The fire effects, again, looks a lot better. And look at the water underneath the main battery guns firing on the GK here. That looks... oh, God, that looks good. And I'll look at the United States blowing up here. And you can see the aircraft, the fire now spreads to the aircraft burn and then explode. So nice little touch of detail there as well. Water splashes, they have been updated. They look great. And the rain effects, it looks pretty good. It comes down in sheets now when we have the storms pop up on the maps, but I kind of do wish it was more rainy and more stormy. Between the angry seas now and some improved visual effects, I would hope that when you were in a typhoon or a cyclone, it feels like a typhoon or a cyclone, because right now, yeah, sure, the water gets mad, but there's not really a lot of rain going on. Again, they did mention before in like the roadmap stream that they're looking at adding in a mechanic where the water will build up on your deck along with ice and sand for those maps as well. So we'll see what happens with that. Alright, they've updated how the ship's vision range is calculated. They've stated that we've had updated. Oh yeah, that is proper English. We have updated the mechanics of determining a ship's maximum spotting range. All ships now have a minimum spotting range that depends on their tier and type, as well as a dynamic spotting range. The first range is a constant value that's set regardless of the ship's parameters. The dynamic spotting range depends on the current firing range of all the ship's weapons, main battery guns, torpedoes, secondary battery guns, and airstrike, and always exceeds this value by 25% or 3 kilometers. At the same time, it's the higher value of the minimum and dynamic spotting ranges that's always applied. Example, the North Carolina has a standard firing range of 21.1 kilometers. The minimum spotting range for a Tier 8 battleship is 30 kilometers. The dynamic spotting range for the North Carolina is 21.1 times 1.25, which gives us 26.4. As the largest value is applied, the spotting range for North Carolina with a firing range of 21.1 kilometers is set at 30 kilometers. If we equip this ship with a gunfire control system or artillery plotting room mod 1, our firing range will be 27 kilometers, and the dynamic spotting range values will reach 33.75 kilometers, which will be the prevailing value for the ship's spotting range in this case. If we also launch a spotting aircraft in battle and increase our firing range to 32.4 kilometers, why in the world would you want to fire that far in North Carolina? You are going to hit nothing unless it's sitting perfectly still. Our spotting range in battle will increase to a value that exceeds 40 kilometers. This, of course, is but a simple example that it's intended to show how the new mechanics work. It's by no means a recommendation for selecting upgrades and equipment for North Carolina. There you go. Wargaming read my freaking mind. And yeah, it is just a simple explanation. But God, I didn't even... What? 32.4 kilometers on North Carolina. God, the shells are going to be coming back at you. They're going to be traveling so slow by then. Alright, other changes, minor changes have been made to the port interface. We've updated the tooltips for currencies and resources, corrected description of ships, and added some other minor details. For the love of God, Wargaming, if you're listening, fix the frickin' interface when you're trying to invite a friend. It is like some 1990s garbage that seriously needs an update and would help to go a long way to add a good quality of life update to the game. Also made it possible to research several consecutive ships for any branch of the tech tree. That's convenient, especially when you have the research branches for the research bureau, which is, I'm assuming, why they did it. Alright guys, so that's it for the dev bulletin for 11.2. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm super excited for the Italian DDs to finally be able to get my hands on those when 11.2 launches. I'm also a little... Well, I guess not after the huge nerf they've been through, but... Let's just say it'll be interesting when submarines get introduced back into the game in 11.2, and I do believe super ships will be around still then too, which that's going to be a real interesting combo. But again, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'll be live streaming right here tonight on the channel from 5 p.m. U.S. Central Time to 8 p.m. U.S. Central Time, so please come out and hang with us for that. We had a great time last stream, even though my internet only lasted for like 2 hours. Hopefully... I've shouted at my ISP enough, and tonight's stream should go off without a hitch. Alright guys, hope you guys have a wonderful Friday, have a wonderful weekend. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.